One more thing. Let's talk about Kyrie Irving, how he played in Game 1, what happened, and how he can be better in Game 2 right now.
I'm here because I have to do it.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
That's it. It's me versus the machines.
I'm tired as hell.
You can rest later. You're young.
I need to recover beer.
Wait. One more thing.
Yeah, welcome. You are still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and your best friend covering the Dallas Mavericks for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA, for a first deposit match up to $100. I want to talk about Kyrie Irving today because I want to talk about how he played in Game 1. And there's so much surrounding Kyrie from Game 1, the emotions of it, his rhythm. I want to talk about how he responds next, like what he does next. And so let's get into all that. But I want to kind of start with why he struggled in Game 1 of the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics. The Mavs lose the game. Kyrie Irving really struggled, 6 of 19 from the field. Just didn't look like he was in it a lot of the time. And you'd think that coming into this, there's so much talk about, well, Kyrie Irving spurned the Celtics. The Celtics fans are going to be out for blood. They hate him. They don't want him. They don't want him anywhere near their team. They had the blow-up doll outside of after Game 1 where the fans pretended it was Kyrie and stomped on it and spat on it and did all this stuff. And there's so much vitriol and the F Kyrie chants and the Kyrie sucks chants and all that kind of stuff. And you knew coming into this that that's what it was going to be. Kyrie Irving left them. Kyrie Irving said he was going to resign and didn't. And went to go play with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. And they did not take kindly to that. The fact that he went from Boston to New York, basically, is also not a great thing for the people here. To be spurned by somebody going to New York is not a great look. Especially if you said you're going to come back. And so it was obvious coming into this game. And Kyrie knew that this was what it was going to be like. He mentioned it. He mentioned it after the game. He said, I thought it was going to be a little louder in here, but I'm expecting the same things going into Game 2. Crowd trying to get me out of my element, my teammates out of my element. He mentioned earlier, he said, just a lot of emotions going into it. Just waiting for the opportunity to get out there and compete, going against a great Celtics team. He talked about the emotions, that he had a lot of emotions, that he was thinking. Both those quotes to me say the obvious. It was obvious what was happening with Kyrie. He was thinking about it. He had time. He had time to sit and think about what it's going to be like, to think about that. The fact that he said, I thought it was going to be a little louder, he was thinking about it. They were in his head before he even got here. Now, was he in his own head? Sure. He's got to get out of that. And he's got to stop thinking about, all right, well, how is this crowd going to respond? And how, if I do this, then this, and blah, blah, blah. Got to get out of that. And this is something I think that Kyrie has done really well this season, where he gets out of his own head, figures out, all right, let me just focus on basketball. Let me just focus on what's in front of me. Let me focus on my teammates, focus on what I can do to make the team better. The Thunder series must have been a really tough series for Kyrie. Think about who you are as Kyrie, the number 1 pick in the draft. You're coming out. You go to the finals with LeBron, 40 points in the NBA Finals game. Greatest shot in NBA history. You're a guy that can score at any point. All these people are gassing you up, saying you're one of the most skilled players ever. LeBron comes out this week and says he's the most skilled player that's ever played in the NBA. He wishes he was still his teammate. He's upset about that, all that. Think about all the people that have said, Doris Burke on the broadcast said he's the greatest ball handler in NBA history. Everybody's been saying that about him. And then you come out in that Thunder series, and he can't really score that much, or as much as he usually does, and he struggles there and finds other ways to help his team. That's the Kyrie we've seen this season. The Kyrie that steps up, that's mature, that has taken the issues or taken all the other stuff, pushed it aside and said, all right, I'm going to focus on what I can. Not going to try to be something. Not going to go out there and say, all right, well, I've got to be able to get mine. He hasn't always done that. I've got to get mine in the first quarter. I've got to get mine here. He's done what the Mavericks have needed him to do, which is hold on. Luka's gonna figure it out in the first quarter, and then somewhere in the third, fourth quarter, you come on, huge run, go for it, go cook Kyrie. And he does. And then the Mavericks have won these games and won in the clutch. He's been great. But that Boston crowd, I think, did have an effect on him. So if you're in that crowd, if you're listening right now, which you probably are, there's a lot of Celtics fans I know in the comment section right now. Oh, why don't you give the Celtics any credit? This is not what we do. I talk about the Mavericks. That's what. Go listen to John Krause. He gave the Celtics all the credit they will ever need. But I think the Boston Celtics crowd, if I'm going to give them credit for something, got into Kyrie's head. And maybe not even for what they did, but for what it was going to be. Kyrie just thinking about it too much, for it getting into his head. And so I think the emotions of the crowd and everything, he was definitely thinking about it. And you know what I think it did? It threw off his rhythm. Threw him off his rhythm. He was not in rhythm. And that Kyrie is definitely a player where you can feel it's almost like a percussive thing with Kyrie. The way he dribbles and the way he goes into his moves and things like that. Like, think about some of these shots that he took in game one. First quarter, he drives left side of the rim, gets blocked by Horford. He rushed it, but it was also a little late, too. It was weird. It was like he rushed to a spot and then pulled up, but he was late in the pull-up. And Al Horford did a great job defending him. First quarter, against Hauser, he got dribbled into the corner, and then he stops and he rushes a three because he's stuck in the corner there, and it goes off the side of the backboard. That was a huge pop by the crowd. Just an immediate, like, oh, my God, I can't believe that just happened. First quarter, he gets blocked by KP. He rushed that shot, too. Second quarter, he drives against Pritchard. He usually makes that shot, but rushed it a little bit and didn't get the shot to go. Like right at the rim, misses a layup. Third quarter, misses a wide open three. Third quarter, misses another three. Third quarter, misses another three that was open off of a Maxey screen. Like these are open shots that he normally hits. Missed all 5 of his threes. And I think 4 out of 5 of them were just wide open. Third quarter, he gets blocked by Jaylen Brown at the rim. If you go back and watch that play, and I have several times now, it's a great block by Jaylen Brown. But what Kyrie did was he took one extra dribble off his rhythm. He was off his rhythm. Was it just the moment? He's been here before. It's been a long time since he's been here. He was a very different person the last time he was here. A very different player. Not a very different player, but he was a different player. Different person. It was a long time ago that he was in the finals. And he hasn't really played tough playoff games in a long time. He's gone through this whole run with the Mavericks, and it's been great, but there have been up and downs. He was thrown off his rhythm, I thought, in this game. The missed threes, blocked by Jaylen Brown at the rim. Third quarter, he dribbles off his foot. Dribbles his left hand, kicks the ball with his right foot. How does that even happen, by the way? Dribbling with his left hand and kicks it with his right foot. Then he had a bad pass to Maxey where he just passes it into the backcourt. I mean, just stuff throwing him off his rhythm, just completely out of sorts for Kyrie. He had a couple of good plays in that third quarter where you felt like, all right, he's finally getting back into it. Third quarter, right side of the court, gets stuck in the corner again, drives on Horford. Mavs have good spacing on that one, and then he's able to finish that. Another third quarter, fadeaway against KP. He figured out the rhythm of what he needed to when he drives against KP. So he's driving on Derrick White. KP comes up to help, and Kyrie knew exactly, all right, I got to get this far away from him. I got to get to this spot. I got to fade away this far. I've got to know exactly where to, and he figured it out. After getting blocked in the first quarter, he makes a shot in the third quarter against KP when he was falling away. And so I think these things, were the reasons why he struggled. I think there's one more reason why he struggled, and then I'm going to talk about how he's responded to some of these games in the playoffs when he hasn't played well and how he will respond and has to respond in game 2. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com. You can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. So all you have to do is go to Prize Picks, pick 2 to 6 player stat projections, and pick more or less on what their stats are going to be. Check it out. They have all kinds of stuff. The finals means more on Prize Picks, so do the star players. You get boosted payouts on selected basketball stars that you won't get anywhere else when the finals are over. Hoops action doesn't stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is just getting started. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Arike Agumbawale, all the great players in the WNBA with Brianna Stewart, Asia Wilson. You could get up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out this summer. So have some fun. Play with some of the stuff like that. Go check out. You can go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA for first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app or go to prizepicks.com and use that code LockedOnNBA for first deposit match up to $100. Thanks for hanging out with me on the One More Thing from Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day is the bonus episode of Locked On Mavericks. We're talking about Kyrie Irving. We're talking about Kyrie in Game 1, and we thought he struggled at times, and I thought it was because of the crowd, the emotions of it, throwing him off his rhythm. But I think there's one more thing that really gave him problems, and I'm giving the Celtics credit again. Jrue Holiday and Derrick White are very good defenders, both all defense for a reason. These guys are really good defenders, and Kyrie's going to have to take some time and figure out how to go against those guys. I thought those guys did a good job ushering him into the corners. I talked a couple of times about how he got stuck in the corner or he had to drive from the corner. He made some good plays out of there, but they didn't allow him to go middle. Didn't allow him to go middle and then get out and spray shots or spray passes all over the court. And so he got stuck in the corner where he's like, all right, I've either got to make some crazy drive here with some crazy dribble combination, or I make a pass to somebody who's not going to be in a good position necessarily. I thought those guys did a good job on him overall. And the Celtics have a good team defense, so they're able to recover. And even if Kyrie beats somebody off the dribble, somebody else is there with a hand in his face. Good on them. Kyrie's got to figure it out. He's got to figure out his rhythm against those two guys too. How has Kyrie responded to bad games? Tim Cato of The Athletic wrote a great piece about next day. How does the next day look after you lose a game in the playoffs? So they lose game one again. How does the next day look? And Kyrie said this. I will say the next day was pretty cool because you see Cato asked him about what do those next days, what have they looked like in some of the other series? And Kyrie said it's kind of hard to compare because of blah, blah, blah. But then he said, I will say that the next day was pretty cool because you still see us join together in practice, still see us go through our day-to-day routines and rituals, just hold each other up, hold each other accountable, but in a very healthy way. We are honest about what we can continue to do to be better, and we are very honest about how we can coach one another to be better. I think Kyrie needs a moment with his team. I think Kyrie needs a moment with his team to reset, go back to what he was doing before. All right, the jitters, the emotion, the crowd, all that, like, put it out of your head. Put your head down and play basketball. And that's something that Kyrie has struggled in the past. To block out all the noise. He's had a lot of noise in his career. I mean, think about all the stuff he's gone through. Think about all the stuff that, been said and things like that. But I think he has to be able to block it all out. And I think he does that by getting around these other guys that have not a lot else going on sometimes, or guys that are going through other things. Get perspective from somebody like Lively with his situation. Get perspective from somebody like Jaden Hardy, who's just happy to be here, excited in this spot, like to think about the mindset of where Jaden Hardy is. I think that could help Kyrie to just, all right, I got to block everything out. Because look how happy Jaden Hardy is to be in the situation. Look how Luka responds to a tough game or a loss. He locks in. He's better in practice the next day. Still is goofy and has fun and all that. To just take the weight of it off and just push it away. This is all kind of like psychological stuff, but I feel like that's the stuff with Kyrie. How has Kyrie responded though in some of these other games? I think one of his worst games was Game 4 against OKC. He only had 9 points. He had 9 assists too, but 9 points, 4 of 11 from the field. Just couldn't get shots off necessarily. They were sending multiple players. It was a loss. Game 5, the Mavs won Game 5 against the Thunder, but he only had 12 points, 4 assists, 5 of 11 from the field. So it's not like he had a great response in that one, but the Mavs did win. They found a way to win. He contributed to it, but the Mavs found a way to win that game. Derek Jones Jr. had a good game in that one. Here's the one, though, that I think is a more recent example. Game 4 against Minnesota, 16 points, 6 of 18 from the field, very reminiscent of this Game 1 against the Celtics. He struggled. The Mavs, that's the only game they lost in that series. They lose that game. He responds in Game 5, 36 points, 14 of 27 from the field. He went out there, I'm getting mine. I'm getting my shots. I'm going out there. Luka and I are taking this over. And I think the Mavs will have to have that kind of a game from both of these guys for as much as they can. They've got to, honestly, they've got to have it 4 times. If you're going to win this series, you've got to have those games 4 times by these two guys. It's got to be both. It's hard for me to imagine against this Celtics team, the Mavericks having a mediocre game from Luka or Kyrie and winning the game. I can't really imagine it. Can you? Can you imagine what would a mediocre game from Luka or Kyrie, so one or the other, and then the Mavs win the game? What happens there? I mean, this Celtics team is very good. This would be an incredible, if the Mavericks win this series and the Mavericks win the title, this is an incredible run by a team. To go through the Clippers in the first round, who are not like a normal first round opponent. It is in the West apparently, but the normal first round opponent is the Heat without Jimmy Butler. And then to go through the Thunder, top five in both offense and defense, 57 wins, all that. Same with the Timberwolves, number 1, beat the Nuggets, number 1 defense, all that. And then to go through the Celtics, like this would be an all-time run. And so to have an all-time run, you have to have great games by both your guys. And I think that's something that with Kyrie, while we're putting so much attention on Kyrie, talking about him so much, is because they have to have good games. They have to have good game from him. They have to have a good scoring game because they just don't have the scoring anywhere else. Who's going to step up if Kyrie doesn't? Can PJ? Maybe a little more. Can Derrick Jones Jr.? Maybe he can make better decisions. Can Lively? Yeah, maybe he can get involved a little bit more in some rebounding and putbacks and things like that. Can Jaden Hardy? Maybe he can make a couple more shots when it's not just garbage time. But nobody else is going to put up the numbers that Kyrie can in this series. And I think that's something that we have to think about and have to, when we look at Kyrie, you have to know that they need him in this moment to step up, to score, to be him. And the Celtics are going to make it hard. They're going to throw him off his rhythm. Jrue Holiday and Derrick White are very good. They're great defenders, and they're going to try to make it hard for him. But it's on Kyrie to be better in this. I think it starts with the emotions, and he's got to block all that out. Take the time in practice. Be with your team. Let them talk you through it. Let Jayson Kidd give him some tips, ideas, things like that. And Kyrie's got to come back and be better. You've got that one out of your system. Have you got that one out of your system? That's maybe the question I ask him if I'm Jayson Kidd. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Kyrie. That's my thoughts on where they are right now. That's one more thing. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.